I think that CX should keep CEOs awake at night.
Hello, and welcome to Martechvibe Dialogues, where we speak with thought leaders, experts, and futurists. In this episode, we have Jose Valles, General Manager of Customer Experience in SAP for EMEA South. Jose has held several executive roles in the telco industry, but has always focused on innovation. Jose, welcome to the show. All right, Jose, let me dive right in. What are the key trends in customer experience that we are witnessing? What is driving this? How are the companies coping? I know this is a very broad question, but I want you to set the stage.
Okay, so the first thing is what is happening right now. The word that needs to be highlighted in everything that we talk about is acceleration. Okay, I joined the CX space in ending 2018, and we were talking all the time about there was this buzz in the market that customer experience was going to pass product and price in terms of the value that customers give to it. Right now, we can say that 70% of customers already prefer to invest more money, to pay more money to companies, to brands that have a substantially better customer experience. This is not new, okay? It's not new. It happened before. We all know, for example, the famous Uber that disrupted an industry through customer experience. The service that they provide is exactly the same as others. It's taking you from A to B. And actually, the price probably is more expensive. I never know what I pay with Uber, but the experience is better, right? You get the app, you know who's coming, they treat you better, the car is a standard. So, and they even have a bottle of water to please you, right? So that is great. What has happened now is that there has been an acceleration in three main axes. That is the way I like to say it. So the first one is commerce, right? We've gone like from the need to be there to we better be there, to we must be there. Everybody's moving to commerce right now, and they are seeing it like a key milestone for their companies. I can mention, for example, a retailer that I was working with before COVID times, that they were saying, yeah, but an increase of 20% in commerce is not going to change what I do, because my real business is brick and mortar, is having customers rotating in my stores. Right now, that all has changed, and they have actually shifted dramatically into e-commerce. The second thing is personalization. But when I talk about personalization, it's not about profiling. It's a pure tool of marketing it's about understanding the customer, not only about what they do in our website, but also what they do in other places, right? And at the same time, being empathetic to everything that we do. So it's not about being too nosy, too scary about what we know about customers. It's providing control to the customer about what we know from them and what we do with it, right? And the third thing is a beautiful thing that happens behind the scenes, nobody realizes. How customer experience was provided before without nobody asking what you think about it. Then we got into the survey world, right? Surveys were important, etc. Right now, what we're saying is that in every interaction with customers, we are perceiving something about what they say, right? These are smileys that show up after choosing in a menu, after being in a restaurant, after having a phone call with a customer, right? And what happens now, what I'm seeing is that, and it's beautiful, is that I'm working with customers that are connecting that experience with the experience of their employees. So for example, I saw one customer the other day that they were seeing a bad feeling of customers about delivery of their service. At the same time, they linked that process with the internal process. And there was bad feeling of the employees because they didn't have the tools that allowed them to do the right thing. So actually, an investment in those tools was going to change dramatically the perception of customers. So these three things together are what I believe is the new battlefield in customer experience. But I would like to add another thing that is even more behind the scenes, that is what happens with the integration with the backend. Because the transformation that is happening right now in how customers consume and what customers consume is having a massive impact in supply chain. So that seamless connection to the supply chain of the company is what is going to make brands deliver on the customer experience promise that they have to their customers. So my recommendation in this space is always the same: is think about what you want to do, where you want to start, choose the right partner, and move fast. because the competition is not going to slow down. They're not going to wait for you.
Very true. Competition never slows down. But I'm really fascinated with the third aspect that you talked about, which is connecting the customer experience with the employee. So can we say that it's almost like employee experience? So is it CX and EX? Is that what you have in mind?
It is actually that. I wanted to get separated a little bit from the SAP message, right? But we acquired Qualtrics some time ago that actually covers both places, right? The beautiful thing that it makes is that you're able to connect the customer experience with employee experience, and actually you're able to translate that into business processes, right? So like the one that I was saying, delivery was actually annoying customers because the experience was not the right one. At the same time, it was annoying employees because the experience was not the right one. You put those two together, and it's going to have an impact not only in the employee satisfaction, but in the customer satisfaction. I mean, it's a beautiful place to be, and I'm glad to be part of it. Yeah.
You also talked about personalization. Now, every CMO, every brand wants to personalize, but somehow they're not able to achieve it. So what do you think is holding them back? Is it strategy? Is it technology? Is it just the mind, or they're not really aware of how to approach this challenge?
Well, I can tell you that I mean, every customer is different, and the barriers that they face are different, right? We come from a world in which marketing, customer profiling, and marketing communication that are intrinsically linked, right? Are managed in different ways, and sometimes these ways are defined by the way people have lived an experience with. So, for example, I live in the UAE, in Dubai, and in Dubai, after living 8 years here, lots of companies have my telephone number. They believe that is profiling, so they are contacting me every day. I receive 8 SMSs from different companies out of the blue offering me services, and actually it's generating a negative impact in the way I perceive those brands, right? What we do with customers is that we help them analyze what they do with their data, what data they can extract, not only from their sources, but from third parties, right? And how they can activate that data. Okay, I was working with a company that has an e-commerce platform not a long time ago. They were complaining that, for example, customers were only buying 27% of the customers were buying for a second time in the commerce portal, right? So we were helping them with the activation of the data that they had, activation of third-party data, and generating specific campaigns for second purchase in commerce using the Emarsys company that we bought last year, right? And the results have been, skyrocketing, and they've been really shocked. So at the end of the day, is about putting an eye in the way we use the data, and you need to look at it with fresh eyes. So I always say to people, ask for somebody outside of your company that is not contaminated by your corporate culture to look at it from a different angle.
I like the word contaminated that you use. So let's talk about legacy companies in the region who do want to make that transition. And you talked about e-commerce. So what are the 2 or 3 big challenges that you think they face, and how do you really guide them? What are your key advices? First, obviously you said move fast, but what are the other things they should be doing?
Well, there are like 3 things that I see more in the companies here in the region, in the UAE, in Middle East, right? And I have to say that we start from a place that Middle East is known for the amazing customer experience, and that's a reality. Once you start living the experience here, you don't want to go back to a hotel in Europe or in North America, right? It's so good the way they make you feel here. But when you take that to the digital world, the companies are still not there. Okay, there are like 3 things that really need to be looked after. One is the omnichannel experience. So companies have the not connected brand experiences in different channels. That is making customers getting confused, and that is actually diminishing the value of the brand and how it's positioned in different places. So definitely having a pure and a single omnichannel strategy will help companies, and that is a key driver. At the end of the day, the e-commerce platform is the show window to the world. So it needs to be really looked after. The second thing is generating a specific and unique brand experiences. We do have in Middle East a lot of cookie cutting, people replicating exactly the same experience once after the other. And the issue there is that there is no way that you're going to be able to stand out the crowd. Okay. So what I recommend to companies is to sit down on a whiteboard, get people from different markets, different industries, different origins, to be able to look at problems in a different angle, and not simply, calling a technology vendor that is going to help them, because if not, the technology vendor will always go to the one-size-fits-all solution. And the third thing, of course, for knowing your customer, truly knowing your customer, right? Being empathetic, being respectful, giving a space to the customer to choose how the data can be used, what the customer can do, what the brand can do with the data of the customer. That is going to put you in a totally different place. So these are the three things that I would recommend to companies here in the UAE.
No, you're completely right that the Middle East is known for its hospitality. But what I also think has happened is people have realized that hospitality means more than just having a fancy reception, because now customers can't even access that reception. What really it means is having a great contact center, having a great call center, which is more proactive and more personalized. So I ask this question to all the people that I speak with, and especially CX experts. Who should really own the customer experience in the company? Is it the CMO, or is it someone higher, someone different?
Well, I think customer experience needs to be across the board. Customer experience should be the thing that keeps CEOs awake, right? The customer experience is what customers see from you, is your face. I don't think there is anything more important than that. Okay. Of course, there is people that need to help articulate that. I think there are three key people here: Chief Digital Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, and Chief Commercial Officer. And the CIO, don't get me wrong, is essential, because it's the glue that is going to keep everybody together, right? But the ones that need to really feel the dream and dream what the company is going to be are these three actors, Chief Digital Officer, Chief Commercial Officer, and Chief Marketing Officer. And of course, like I said, the CEO needs to believe in this, because it's a real mind changer. The moment that you get into an approach to business that is not about the traditional KPIs, it's not about your costs, it's not about the product features, it's about how you deliver an experience to customers. That actually represents a big change in the way companies are perceived, and it can have a direct impact not only in the top line but in the bottom line.
So a lot of companies out here are promoter-led, which makes the CEO, the owner, and perhaps even the brand custodian. So there, I think he owning the CX makes a lot of sense. But in many companies, the CEOs are more of custodians of P&L, or they just look after the profits. So do you really think that they would own the customer experience? Are they equipped or mature enough?
But I think there is a transformation in the way companies live this. It is true that the CEO has always been the custodian of the P&L, right, and the financials of the company, right? But when you are bringing customer experience at the center of the strategy of a company, the main head of the company needs to live and breathe for it, right? And I believe that we are getting into that space. If you look at the companies that are transforming the world, the CEOs are the visionaries of how the experiences need to be lived, right? Look at any company like Airbnb, look at Uber, look at Google, right? It was the founders and the CEOs, the ones that are making the experience be forefront of everything that is done, right? Of course, there is people that helps them. They don't need to be experts. It's not about that, right? But it's about making it the most important thing, or the promise of the brand towards customers. The moment that happens, magic occurs. And look, it's happening with very innovative companies. Okay, they're typically linked to the Bay Area, to California, But that is changing, and this is migrating and it's moving to other places in the world. And I see it, I witness it whenever I speak with smaller companies that are going into that direction, but also to bigger companies. And look, I was not a long time ago speaking with a multi-billion company here in the UAE, and the CEO himself was saying, what we need to do is actually be different because of the customer experience. He wasn't talking price, he wasn't talking product.
That's amazing and really heartening to hear. Thank you so much, Jose, for these amazing insights and for your time. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you for your time. Thank you.